Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a minute, but hey, I've been busy. Get over it. On today's menu, we've got a banana. That's right. A customer with an ER6 called me up and said, how much is a set of fork tubes and a front fender? I went, why? What? That's an odd request. What actually happened? He said, well, I just ran into someone. And I said, well, there's usually a bit more, other damage during a smash repair. Why don't you just bring the bike in? I'll check it out and see if there's anything else you need. So he brought it in, and amazingly, unbelievably, this bike just needed a pair of fork tubes and a front guard. It's missing a little fork cover, but that's an eBay jobby, no problem. But yeah, this was just an interesting little suspension redo, I guess you'd call it, but it was quite bent, as you'll see here. The fork tube is a proper banana. Trying to get it from different angles here. There's the missing guard, not a big issue, but if you look closely when it focuses, you'll see a crack running along the front of the tube there, and if we go behind, it's also crimpled on the back. So this is a proper bend. I very rarely see this. It's bent so much that the front wheels hitting the exhaust, and it looks like there's a bit of radiator damage as well, but that's not really an issue. Diablo in the background and Cody working hard as usual. Sound effects. Nice. So let's get into it. No stories today, just a walk through of what we're doing, because it was quite an interesting job. It was a nice, quick, easy job, but there were a few difficulties along the way. So here I am getting the brake calipers off. That guard pops out and just wanted to snap in two, so I helped it a bit. So we got this bike on the bench backwards just for ease of access with the front end. I didn't want to be squashed between the benches and the lift, so worked on the other side today. Don't usually do this, but for this job it seemed a bit easier. So we got it on backwards, strap it down, jack it up, and the front wheel. There you can see the tyre actually hitting the exhaust, and this is when it's slightly turned. So when it was straight, it was, yeah, look at that, squishing. I think the bike was dropped off on the back of a ute, I'm not sure. I think it was just here when I rocked up at work. Okay, so let's get this wheel out and we'll get a better look at exactly how bent these things are. It's crazy. They're almost vertical. So alright, let's start pulling it apart. The lower triple clamp pinch bolts get undone, and didn't want to come easy. Needed a bit of gentle persuasion, but out she pops, and that is bent. I'm going to say that word a lot of times in this video because you don't get them that bent without any other damage. It was just crazy. But it is what it is, and eventually I just accepted that was all the damage, so get on with it. So we load the fork tube into our suspension vise here. Tighten it up, remove the cap. These forks are actually quite easy to work on when they're straight. You'll see later on there was a bit of an issue because it was so bent, but step by step the dust seal comes off, circlip pops out, and there's a drain bolt in the bottom that holds the tube in while you dump the oil up top. I was a bit impatient here because I just wanted to get that bent tube out. Yeah, some suspension work can be a messy job. I didn't even bother draining the oil because I was just getting so impatient. Just wanted to see this tube and how bent it was. Anyway, the bushes need to get off. So there's the inner bush sliding off, the outer bush, and then everything comes off. Now usually the spring comes out, and so does that little dampening rod. But I had to get a bit creative with this because we need to straighten this fork in order to get the spring out. And to get that bottom little cartridge out. Now, I thought it'd be a little bit tricky, but it was it was a bit of a fail. I've got a little pipe bender that I got on eBay just for helping me make subframes and stuff. And it's a really good little tool, but it's not designed for this. It doesn't have the right mandrels for bending what we call a recurve. It's meant to bend a straight pipe into a curve, you know. So the problem here is the pipe is already bent, and as I try to press it straight, it wants to twist. So it was just awkward. I couldn't hold it. And I thought, bugger this. All right, let's get some V blocks and do it in the press. So you set the V blocks up crooked. Stick the tube in, and hopefully that will hold it a bit better. And it ended up working, and you know, this was okay. I just wanted to get some of that curve out and try the pipe bender again, because I didn't want to stress out the press too much, or you know, just with all that pressure on the press, and it lets go. If it snaps or something, it just explodes. So let's get it out properly. So I didn't take much out of it. I just needed it to fit better in this pipe bender so that I could straighten it a bit more, and it worked. So you can see I'm just doing my best to put some pressure on it and then hold it steady. Fails a bit. I don't know why. I don't know I don't know. It could have been done better, but basically we needed to get it straight so that there it goes. See, it found its position, and I can just press. And it's almost there. You go. You can see the cracks start to open up in the middle. So I turned it around. Just wanted to get it a bit more open on that side, and there you can see the spring inside. So that's all nice and floppy. Now that we've got it open on one side, even though it was already cracked, I can pull it to the other side and watch it pop. Pop. So now it's separated, we can just unscrew it and get the spring out. Having the spring bend like that is not so much of an issue. It's a spring, it stays springy. Had a little bit of trouble getting that little damper rod out, but I got it eventually. So there you go, one pipe split into two, just to remove the insides. And there they are. The spring and the little cartridge, clean everything up. Everything has to be surgical when it goes back together. So that's pretty much the hard bit done. I went on to Wiimoto and got a set of cheap fork tubes, so this was a really cost-effective smash repair considering the condition that it was in. It was not hard to fix. It was quite satisfying when you see something in that state, but it actually doesn't need that much to return to its former glory. Beautiful new shiny tube. The important thing is that it's straight. Some fork tubes can be straightened, but not when they get to that point where they're cracking and crumpling. That's not right. So we've got some new bushes because they must have had a big knock. Got to have Judge Judy in the background, keeping me mentally occupied. So everything in reverse order now. The rod goes in and its housing, and then you screw the pipe down. Got to hold some tension on it while you do it. Just make sure it's home. Kept slipping a bit. That's quite common. So I just pull the spring out and it seats itself. Axle pinch bolt goes back in. Now we can just put the seals in. There's that washer. Got to use some good grease on these fork seals to prevent stiction and leaking down the road. There's our little installing slider. The safety clip goes in. Put some grease on the dust seal. And that should be ready for oil. So we stick it back in the fork clamp, get the height right. Use the recommended viscosity with the level. This little tool, is designed to measure the gap at the top of the oil level to the top of the tube, and it sucks out whatever is over. Spring goes in, you spill oil, the spring preloads spacer, and then the cap. And she's done. Give her a little bounce to make sure it's not a pogo stick, and whack it back in the bike. It's a little bit tricky getting him in and out because obviously the triple clamps were upset. So once I had them all both back in, I had to do a bit of an alignment job. So you can see I'm using the flat blade screwdrivers there to open up the clamps while I stick the forks in, because it was just a bit tight, so that's not a problem. Tighten up the clamp bolts, and there's one straight fork and one bent one. And that was the lesser of the two bent forks, so that one's not as bent, but you can see how angry it is. Now that the straight one's in, it's a bit harder to get this tube out, but you just got to find the right way to persuade it. Make sure everything's loose, open the gap a bit. Not really working. I'm not that strong. It just doesn't want to come. Sometimes these things happen, you just got to figure out a way to work around it. What if we go from the top? Just give it a gentle knock with the old knockometer, and that wasn't very graceful, but it worked. So there you go. I did the same thing to that one, second verse, same as the first. A little bit of silicone on the grommets, and there's my nice lovely new eBay fork covers, $10 for the pair. And the headlight shroud goes back on. Quite satisfying, this job. Something's broken, I get replacements, reassemble, all back together. Good little bike, this one. Kawasaki ER6n for naked. They changed the ER6F for faired to the Ninja 650, but it's the same bike, just got a fairing on it. Yeah, really good little bikes, quite narrow, so they're good for commuting and couriering. Really reliable engines, quite decent performance, great fuel economy, really fun to ride, very light, not too top heavy, really good on maintenance. Yeah, good little bike actually. Now this was the only part that we got genuine OEM Kawasaki because it was quite surprisingly reasonably priced. So I just got a new one. They had it in stock. There's the old one you can see. But yeah, front guard goes in, line up the holes, story of my life. That's pretty much the hard work done. It was a good day. Nice job. No problems. Well, a couple of little problems, but nothing that scared me too much. It's not raining, it's not too cold. It's very rare that I've got my jumper off in the workshop, but yeah, oh there you go, it's back on. Alright, let's put the wheel back in. The axle was a bit stubborn because it took a knock as well, but I repaired it behind the scenes. Didn't want to come out, didn't want to go in. Had to do a bit of fudging. But it's okay. Axle's in. Haven't tightened up that pinch bolt on the axle nut yet because I like to put the brakes on first. Tighten the calipers both sides, give it a spin, slam the brakes, and then tighten that pinch bolt so it lines the forks. Do a bit of a clean down and I think we're done. You know, smash repairs are a long drawn out process, but this one was very satisfying. Alright, let's reassemble the ramp. Can we take it off the jack? It's good when you've got all this equipment, it makes your job so much easier. This can be done in your home, in your garage, but you're working on the ground like a dog. That tyre looks flat. Let's put some air in there, and up she goes. Nice. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier when you've got this stuff. You can go up and down and you don't have to kill your knees, kill your back. Sophie in the background. Wonder what she's working on. Should have got a picture. Doesn't matter. Alright. Let's take her out and give her a kick in the guts. Birds chirping. Lovely day. Look at that sky. Alright. I'm taking this sucker to Mexico. Oh, Sunday driver. Ah. He decides to do some work now when I leave. That's his usual position. He just waits for me to get back. Some separation anxiety, some abandonment issues. I don't know what his problem is. It worked. The wheels didn't fall off. Jeez. And then he gets the zoomies. That's it. Sorry I didn't have time for the ASMR bike wash today. It was a busy day, but hope you enjoyed it. Nice quick fix. Interesting job here. Sorry it's been a while. I'll try to keep posting, but you know, I'm busy. I've got kids. Thanks for watching. What a great bike.